I always knew something was off about the way she packed for that trip. Michelle had this nervous habit, biting the inside of her cheek when she was hiding something. I'd seen it a few times over our 9 years of marriage, usually when she'd gone overboard shopping or forgot to pay a bill. But that morning, it wasn't about money. She had that same tight smile and eyes that wouldn't quite meet mine, and her hands moved a little too quickly, stuffing bikinis and sundresses into her suitcase like she was racing a clock. "You sure you don't want to come?" she asked, zipping it up with a force that felt like finality. I shrugged. "Thought this was a girl's trip." "It is," she said quickly. "But if you wanted to come for a few days at the end or something." "I've got work," I replied, not hiding the edge in my voice. Truth was, I could have taken the time. My boss at the hardware store owed me a few long weekends. But I didn't want to tag along on a vacation I was only half invited to. I wasn't going to be some stray dog following around a pack of women who didn't want me there. She gave me a kiss that didn't linger, one of those quick pecks you give your grandpa before leaving a family reunion. And then she was out the door. I stood there on the porch for a minute, coffee mug in hand, watching her taillights fade down the street. She didn't even look back. The first couple days weren't so bad. I did the things guys do when their wives are away. I drank beer in my boxers, watched too much cable news, grilled every night, and blasted old rock vinyls loud enough to scare the squirrels. She sent me a few texts here and there. "Having fun," and "wish you were here." That sort of thing. No calls though. No videos. Nothing personal. Her words felt like postcards, generic and sent out of obligation. I didn't say much back. I just let it ride. But on the third night, I got curious. I don't usually pry. I'm not the jealous type. But something in my gut told me I needed to look. So I opened up her Instagram. That's when the bottom dropped out. There she was, smiling brighter than she had in months, her arms around someone I recognized. A tall guy with a smug face and sun-kissed arms. Tyler. Her ex. They were on a boat. Not with the girls, not on some resort deck chair sipping cocktails. No, this was personal. Just the two of them. He was shirtless, tanned, and looking damn proud of himself, like he'd just won a trophy. And her? She looked like she belonged to him again. I scrolled down and saw more. A dinner. A beach. A video of them dancing, her laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. I sat back in my chair, heart pounding, but not from sadness, from something colder. Something clean and sharp. She didn't just cheat. She did it boldly, like I was nothing. Like our life together was a motel room she could walk out of whenever she found something better. And that's when the switch flipped in me. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg or argue or forgive. No. I was going to let her come home. And then I was going to ruin her. Michelle came home a week later. She walked through the front door like she hadn't burned down everything we built, suitcase in one hand, phone in the other, fake tan baked onto her skin. Her hair was beach-waved and bleached a shade lighter, like she was trying to wash away the guilt with salt water. "Hey, babe," she said casually, like she hadn't just been locking lips with Tyler on the deck of a rented yacht. I watched her from the kitchen. I didn't say a word. Just drank my coffee and stared at her the way a man watches an incoming storm. "You okay?" she asked. "Fine." She gave me a long look. "You're acting weird." I shrugged. "Guess I'm just tired." She nodded slowly, unpacked a little, and told me stories about the trip, fabricated ones, no doubt. Her voice trailed off once or twice when she thought I wasn't listening. But I was. I was hanging on every lie like a hook on a fishing line. That night, I didn't touch her. Didn't even lay beside her. Slept on the couch with the TV muted, watching the old westerns where the guy in the black hat always came back for revenge. The good guy never really won in those movies, he just survived long enough to settle the score. It was the next morning that the fog came. Thick. Heavy. Odd for July. I'd lived in this town my whole life, and never once had I seen fog like that. It rolled in off the lake behind our house, low and slow, curling around the trees like it was alive. You couldn't see more than 5 feet in front of you. It swallowed sound. Even the birds went quiet. Michelle walked out onto the back porch and hugged her robe tight around her. "That's creepy," she said, squinting into it. I stepped beside her, sipping my coffee again, and said, "Weird time for fog." She nodded. "Looks like it's not going anywhere." She was right about that. Over the next few days, it stayed. Just hung there, gray, thick, quiet. It would retreat a little in the afternoons, but at night it returned like clockwork. People in town started to whisper about it. Said it gave them bad dreams. Said it made the air taste like old coins. I didn't mind it. In fact, it was perfect. See, Michelle didn't know that I'd already been setting things in motion. While she was sunbathing with her old flame, I was calling in favors. See, I wasn't just some dumb hardware store guy. I had a little money saved. Investments she didn't know about, tucked away under my name only. And I had friends in quiet corners, one in particular who worked in real estate law. Another who specialized in asset tracing and financial forensics. I started untangling us in the places that mattered: bank accounts, property titles, shared cards. Bit by bit. Quietly. Like fog rolling over a field. She didn't even notice. She was too busy texting Tyler under the covers at night, pretending she was still tired from the trip. I let her have the illusion of control. Let her think she was still queen of the castle while I quietly stripped the bricks out from underneath her. One night, she left her phone face up on the kitchen table while she showered. A message lit up. "Miss you already. I can fly back next weekend. You sure he's clueless? Tyler. Bold little bastard." I didn't answer it. Just let the screen go dark again. The fog thickened that night, thicker than ever. I sat on the porch with a beer and watched it curl against the windows. It was almost like it was working with me, hiding me, shielding me from being seen too clearly while I set the trap. And then, just as I took the last sip of my drink, something odd happened. I swear I saw someone standing just beyond the fence line, half shrouded in mist. A figure. Tall. Still. Watching. I blinked. It was gone. Maybe it was my imagination. Or maybe the fog was more than just weather. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was scared. I wasn't. But I felt aware. Like something was shifting around me. Like I was being watched, not by her, not by Tyler, but by something bigger. Something old. But whatever it was, it wasn't stopping me. If anything, it was on my side. And Michelle? She had no idea that every day she spent living like nothing had changed, she was walking deeper into a trap she'd never see coming. The fog was patient. And so was I. The first time Michelle noticed something was really wrong was when her debit card got declined at the grocery store. She came home with a sour look on her face, storming into the kitchen while I sat on the back porch, sipping coffee like I always did. The fog had rolled in early that morning, thick as wool and clinging to the backyard like it owned the place. She slammed the front door behind her. "Did you mess with the bank account?" she asked, like a drill sergeant already knowing the answer. I turned to face her slowly, not getting up. "Nope." "Why?" "My card didn't work. I had to put it on credit." "It's embarrassing, Paul." I kept my tone even. "Maybe you spent too much on that vacation." That hit a nerve. She blinked, hesitated, then scoffed. It wasn't that kind of trip. No? I stood up, walked toward her. Then why'd you lie about it? She folded her arms across her chest, chin lifting. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't answer. I just brushed past her and went inside, letting silence work on her like a slow leak in a tire. Truth is, I didn't need her to confess. I just needed her off balance. Confused. Worried. Because that's how you start the fall, crack their sense of reality, one fracture at a time. That night, I lay in bed beside her while she pretended to sleep. Her phone buzzed twice. She didn't move. She knew I knew now. I stared at the ceiling fan as it spun slowly overhead, listening to the wind moan outside the window. The fog pressed up against the glass like a living thing. And somewhere out there, just past the trees, I swore I heard someone whispering. Just barely. Like breath on a mirror. She turned over and said quietly, "Did you hear that?" "Yeah," I whispered. "The fog's talking again." She didn't respond. By the next day, things started slipping out of her hands. First, the card issues spread. Her joint checking was frozen. Her PayPal locked her out. I had my buddy in IT security send a couple of polite inquiries to raise red flags. All perfectly legal. All perfectly explainable. Just inconvenient. Then her car wouldn't start. It wasn't anything major, just a wire I'd loosened under the hood. I offered to take a look, played the role of helpful husband, but of course I didn't fix it. Not yet. She had to feel it first, the helplessness. And the fog? It stayed. Always. Never really lifting. One afternoon she sat on the porch staring into it, wrapped in a blanket, her cup of tea untouched. "Do you remember that camping trip we took up in Mendocino?" she asked suddenly. I nodded. "Sure. You remember the fog there? That weird, thick mist that came in at night and wouldn't leave until late morning?" I leaned on the doorframe. "Yeah. Why?" "This feels like that," she whispered. "Only worse." I watched her for a while. She looked pale. Like the color was draining out of her, slow and steady. Her confidence had started to peel off, like old paint on a barn wall. And she didn't even know how deep it went yet. But I did. And the fog watched with me, curling around her bare ankles like a warning. That evening, she finally cracked. I was in the garage, cleaning up my old toolbox, when she came in holding her phone. She looked wrecked, eyes wide, hands shaking. "They're gone," she said. "Who?" "My photos. From the trip. All of them. I tried to show Lauren this picture of me on the boat, and they're just gone." I didn't even blink. "Weird. Do you think I've been hacked?" "I wouldn't rule it out." She stared at me like she was trying to see past my skin, trying to read something in my face. But I didn't give her anything. Just leaned down and tightened the lid on a jar of screws. And right then, I realized something chilling and strangely satisfying. She was beginning to feel haunted. And she wasn't wrong. Because here's the truth, I wasn't just playing games with her money or messing with her phone. No, I'd gone further. I'd started to plant seeds. Things that would make her question what was real and what wasn't. A call from a blocked number every night at 3:03 a.m., never a voice, just static. Her favorite perfume going missing from the bathroom drawer, only to reappear in the trunk of her car. A pair of men's sunglasses left on the kitchen counter, not mine, just for her to find and panic over. Little cracks. Little whispers. Just like the fog, quiet, slow, and completely impossible to pin down. She was beginning to unravel. And I was just getting started. Michelle stopped going outside by the end of that week. She used to take morning walks around the block, sometimes post photos of her coffee with those little sunrise captions like, "Fresh start," but not anymore. Now, she just stayed inside, curled up in the corner of the couch like the world was watching her through the windows. I didn't push. I just let her rot. The fog helped. Every day it got thicker, like it fed off her fear. You'd think the sun would burn it off by noon, but it never did. Not this stuff. This fog had weight. It didn't just sit on the grass or swirl above the street. It crept under the doors. Clung to your clothes. Even made the air inside feel cold. One morning I found her sitting on the stairs, staring at her phone. The screen was black, but she was holding it like she expected it to light up. "You okay?" I asked, playing dumb. She didn't answer at first. Then she whispered, "I heard Tyler's voice in the fog last night." I didn't even blink. "What did he say?" Her lips parted like she hadn't expected me to ask. "He said, you shouldn't have left me again." I walked past her like it was nothing. Like I hadn't arranged for her to hear just that, using an old recording of Tyler's voice from a video I found online. Looped through a Bluetooth speaker I placed outside her window 2 nights ago. She didn't know how easy it was to fake a haunting when you knew the crack someone already had in their soul. Michelle had left Tyler once before. Years ago. She told me she ended it because he was possessive and dramatic. But I think deep down, she liked that part of him. Maybe that's what made cheating with him on vacation feel like some twisted, full-circle thing for her. Well, now the circle was closing, for real this time. And the fog wasn't just hiding my revenge anymore. It was part of it. That night, I left the back door open just a crack. Just enough for the cold mist to slip inside. Just enough to let her imagine something might follow it. I waited until she fell asleep, then went to the fuse box and flipped the downstairs breaker off. Killed every light except the one in the hall outside our bedroom. Then I played the same whispering audio loop again, Tyler's voice, only more broken this time, more distorted. Mixed in some static, some wind, and the sound of distant, dragging footsteps. From her room, I heard her wake with a gasp. The creak of bed sheets. The click of her lamp switch. Then footsteps down the hall, fast and clumsy. I stepped out of the bathroom as she hit the top of the stairs. She screamed, just for a second, startled. "It's just me," I said. She was breathing hard, holding her phone like a weapon. "Something's in the house." "You sure?" I asked. "Looks fine to me." Her eyes darted around like she was searching for shadows that wouldn't hold still. I heard him again. "Tyler?" She nodded, biting her lower lip. Her mascara was smudged. She looked younger in that moment, or maybe just smaller, like a girl who'd finally realized the woods were full of wolves. I put a hand on her shoulder. "You're just tired." But she wasn't buying it anymore. She knew something was off. Not just with the house. With me. And that made it even better. Let her suspect. Let her feel the walls closing in. That's how she made me feel when she posted those pictures like I didn't exist. This was balance. The next day, she tried calling Tyler. I know, because I had her phone mirrored to a hidden screen in the garage. She paced the living room while it rang, once, twice, 3 times. No answer. Straight to voicemail. I'd taken care of that, too. Paid a quiet little company that spoofed a disconnection notice. This number is no longer in service. Just a little cherry on top. Michelle threw her phone across the room when she heard it. It bounced off the couch and landed face down on the hardwood. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She cried. Not soft, elegant crying like you see in the movies. This was full-on sobbing. Body shaking, mouth covered, ugly crying. I stood in the hallway, watching through a narrow crack in the door. And I didn't feel pity. I felt nothing. That evening, as the fog rolled in thicker than ever, she came to me with tears still dried on her cheeks. "Paul," she said quietly. "I think something's wrong with me." I put down my drink, looked her in the eye. "What do you mean?" "I'm seeing things. Hearing things. I feel like the house isn't safe anymore." I leaned in. "Do you think it's the house? Or maybe it's something inside you that isn't safe?" She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "You don't mean that," she whispered. I just gave her the smallest, coldest smile I could manage. "Don't I?" And right then, something moved behind her. In the fog outside the window. She turned sharply, gasping. But when she looked back, I was already walking away. By the start of the 5th week, Michelle stopped asking questions. She barely spoke at all. She moved through the house like someone walking underwater, slow, deliberate, dazed. Her confidence, her flair, her little smirks, gone. Every piece of the woman who used to laugh while texting Tyler under the table was stripped away. One morning, I found her staring into the fog through the kitchen window. She hadn't touched her tea. Her hair was tied up but frizzed at the edges, like she'd forgotten how to be polished. I stepped in behind her, slow, like I didn't want to disturb her trance. "What are you looking at?" I asked. She didn't blink. "I saw someone out there last night." I played dumb. "Someone?" "A man. Just standing in the fog. Near the tree line. Watching the house." She turned her head slightly toward me. "I think it was Tyler." I sipped my coffee. "He's not coming back, Michelle." "I know," she whispered. "But I think something else is." It wasn't just her sanity unraveling now, it was her grip on what she thought she owned. The bank called her twice that week. I know because I'd set it up that way. The offshore accounts she had, probably the ones she used to stash money for her little romantic adventures, had been flagged for review. And I'd had my hand in that too, feeding anonymous tips, raising just enough noise to trigger the alerts. When she finally called the financial advisor she thought she could trust, all he said was, "We need to talk in person." But there was no meeting. Because I'd gotten to him first. He owed me a favor. A big one. Long story short, he agreed to freeze her access until things were cleared up. Which, let's be honest, they never would be. And just like that, snap, her safety net vanished. I watched her pacing the living room later that night, phone in hand, trying not to cry. Her laptop glowed on the coffee table, open to her account summary, just a bunch of red flags and frozen assets. "What's going on?" she muttered to herself. "What the hell is going on?" The fog pressed up against the windows so thick you couldn't see the porch light. It wasn't just outside anymore. It was in her head. That night, something strange happened. Even to me. Around 3:03 a.m., the time I'd been triggering those fake hauntings, I woke up, heart pounding. Not because of guilt. I'd long since buried that. No, this was different. The room was ice cold. The fog had pushed through the cracks in the windows, even though they were shut. It coiled around the floor like smoke. Michelle was sitting upright in bed, eyes wide open. "I didn't let him go," she said. Her voice was flat. Like she wasn't talking to me. "I told him I was coming back," she continued. "I told him, he believed me." "Michelle," I said cautiously, "you're dreaming." No, her voice was sharp now, bitter. "You don't get it. He was waiting. In Monterey. He told me he wanted to start over. And I said yes." She finally looked at me, eyes wild. "I was going to leave you." I sat up slowly, letting her words sink in. There it was. The final truth. The thing she'd never said out loud. I nodded once. Thanks for that. She blinked like she just realized she was confessing. But it was too late. The words were out, hanging in the thick fog between us. I got out of bed and left the room. Let her sit in it. Let her hear the soft footsteps outside that window again. And this time, I didn't even play the tape. The next morning, Michelle was gone. Just like that. Vanished. I came downstairs and found her phone on the kitchen table, next to a mug of untouched tea. Her keys were still on the hook. Her purse was still in the closet. But she was gone. I walked out into the yard, where the fog sat so thick it swallowed everything past 5 feet. I called her name once, twice. No answer. Only the sound of wind through trees and something else, something softer, like breath. I smiled. She'd finally gone looking for Tyler in the mist. Hours passed. The sheriff came by later that evening. I told him she'd been acting strange, seeing things, hearing voices. He nodded slowly, scratching something into his little notepad. The fog's been playing tricks on a lot of folks, he said. It's like it's got teeth this year. He gave me a card and left. I stood at the window after he drove off, staring into that shapeless gray. And for just a second, I saw her figure. Just her silhouette. Out near the tree line. But when I blinked, she was gone. I poured myself a drink and sat back down. She'd disappeared into the fog. Just like her money. Just like her little love affair. Just like the life she tried to build without me. It's been 6 days since Michelle vanished into the fog. The sheriff came back twice, both times with that tired, apologetic face people wear when they don't expect to find a body, just a story. He asked if there had been arguments, if she'd seemed depressed. I kept my answers vague, measured. The less they had to go on, the better. Do you think she left you? He asked finally. I shrugged. I think she left herself. He didn't know what that meant, but he wrote it down anyway. The official report said, missing under unusual circumstances. I said nothing to change that. At night, I still hear the footsteps on the porch. Sometimes I hear them inside the house, too, just for a second. Then it's quiet again, like the fog swallowed the sound before it could echo. I keep telling myself it's just the creaks of the old place. Just the wood shifting. But I don't sleep much anymore. And when I do, I dream of her. Not Michelle as she was, but something like her, only pale and wet and shivering. A fog version. Standing at the foot of the bed with her mouth open, like she wants to scream but forgot how. Last night she finally said something. You didn't leave me away back. I woke up with a tightness in my chest that didn't go away for hours. I don't know if it's guilt. I didn't think I had any left. I took everything from her, her pride, her money, her lover. I made her doubt herself, made her question the shadows, until she walked right into one and didn't come out. That should have been the end of it. But the fog hasn't lifted. And some nights, I think it's getting thicker. 3 days ago, I started hearing a knocking at the back door. It comes around 2:30 in the morning. Always just one knock. Never more. Always the same spot, 3 feet up from the bottom, like someone's knocking with their forehead. I stopped checking after the second night. Not because I'm scared. Just because I don't need to. I know what I'll see if I open that door. Nothing at first. Then slowly, in the gray distance, a figure will rise like it's climbing out of a river. That same soaked silhouette with hair matted down, arms hanging low. And it'll just wait. Not moving. Not asking. Just waiting. Like it knows I'll come out eventually. I tried walking to the mailbox yesterday. Didn't make it. Halfway down the path, the fog wrapped around my legs like chains. I looked up and couldn't see the street. Couldn't even see the front of the house. Just white all around, thick and humming. That's the part one hadn't noticed before. The hum. Like breathing. Like something alive was in there with me, beside me, behind me. I turned in a slow circle and whispered her name without meaning to. Michelle. The fog didn't answer. But something brushed my shoulder. I went back inside. Locked every door. Pulled the blinds. I used to think revenge was about justice. About balancing the scales. But now I realize it's more like opening a door and hoping what walks through only bites the person you aimed it at. Sometimes it bites you, too. I see that now. I took everything from her, piece by piece. I planned it so carefully, so coldly. And the fog, hell, maybe it helped at first. Like it wanted me to. But now? Now it won't leave. It's like I'm the one trapped. Maybe I didn't bury Michelle in the fog. Maybe the fog buried me with her. I found her ring today. Her wedding band. It was sitting on the kitchen counter, right where she used to leave her tea. Clean. Dry. Perfect. It wasn't there yesterday. I know because I cleaned that counter twice, looking for it. And now here it is, shining in the dull gray light that never seems to change anymore. I picked it up and felt the air shift. Like the house exhaled. And then the knocking started again. This time, at every door. Back. Front. Side. Knock. 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 All at once. I didn't answer. But I stood there, holding the ring, and whispered, "You wanted me to be alone. Now you've got me." And for the first time in a long while, I swear I heard her laugh. It came from inside the fog. Not from far away. From inside the house. I started sleeping in the living room. It wasn't about comfort. The bed upstairs had gone cold, like the mattress itself remembered Michelle and rejected me. Besides, I couldn't stand lying there, listening to the old pipe sigh while something pressed its weight on the stairs outside the door. So I pulled the couch cushions into a kind of nest by the fireplace and tried to pretend I was camping. The fog pressed up against the glass every night now. Thick, silent, and hungry. It didn't move like weather. It moved like intention. Yesterday, I went looking for her. Not because I thought she'd come back, but because I needed proof that she wouldn't. I walked into the woods behind the house. I had to force myself past that invisible wall where the fog gets heavy enough to muffle your thoughts. I called her name just once. Michelle. Not loud. Not hopeful. There was no answer. But I found something I hadn't seen before. A blue scarf caught on a tree branch. Silk, knotted loosely like it had been pulled off in a hurry. It was hers. I knew it right away. I gave it to her the winter after our first Christmas, cheap but soft, with little gold threads that caught the light. It should have rotted years ago, but it looked clean. Fresh. Like she'd dropped it yesterday. I stood there a long time just staring at it, the branch creaking in the breeze that didn't touch anything else. Then I turned around and walked home without taking it. The knock came again that night. This time, I opened the door. Not because I was ready, but because pretending not to hear it had started to feel worse. I expected nothing. Or maybe a hallucination. I didn't expect her. But there she was. Michelle. Not soaked, not monstrous. Just standing there, like she'd gone for a walk and lost track of time. Her eyes looked tired. Her skin pale, lips slightly cracked. But she was real. Solid. I didn't say anything. I just stared. Finally, she whispered, "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. And just like that, she walked back into the house like she'd never left. She sat at the kitchen table. Same chair as always. I made tea without asking. She didn't touch it. I stood by the counter, unsure whether to speak or run. I tried to leave, she said finally. Her voice sounded warped, like she was speaking through a wall of water. But it brought me back. The fog? I asked. She nodded. It's not outside anymore. I didn't ask what she meant. I already knew. It was in us now. In the house. In the walls. In our story. You took everything from me, she said, not angry, just hollow. You deserved it. I know. She looked down at her hands. Thin. Trembling. I think I deserved worse. That silence after she spoke, that was the loudest thing I've ever heard. I went upstairs after she fell asleep on the couch. I didn't trust it. Any of it. Not the fact that she returned. Not the way the room no longer smelled like old wood and lemon cleaner, but something floral, like her perfume from years ago. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my own hands, half expecting them to start fading. Then I looked out the window. She was standing there. Outside. In the fog. The same way I saw her before. Hair hanging, arms limp. But, if she was outside, who was downstairs? I went back down slowly. Step by step, feeling the creak of the wood under my weight. The lights were off. The couch was empty. The teacup sat in the exact same spot. Full. Still warm. But no sign of her. Only the scarf. Tied neatly around the back of the chair. Like she'd been there. Like she'd left it, for me. Now I don't know what's real anymore. Some nights I find her sleeping in the bed. Other nights I wake up and she's outside again, tapping the window with one finger. Once, I followed her through the hallway in the dark and watched her walk straight into the wall and disappear. She keeps showing up. And now she talks to me like nothing happened. As if we're still married. As if Monterey never happened. As if Tyler was just a bad dream we both shared. And sometimes I talk back. Because deep down, I think the fog didn't just take her away. I think it brought her back. But not whole. Not human. Just, watching. Waiting. And now that I've gotten everything I ever wanted, I lie awake asking myself a question I never thought I would. Who got the better end of the deal? It's not just that Michelle's back. It's that she's everywhere. I see her out by the tree line in the mornings, standing in her old robe like she never left. Then I'll come inside and she'll be in the kitchen already, humming some song I don't remember ever liking. She's here. But she's also there. She moves like memory. Like fog. One night I locked all the doors and windows, just to prove something to myself. Nailed the back one shut. Drew salt across the thresholds like I'd read in some half-lucid fog dream. Still, I woke up and she was sitting at the foot of the bed. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. She just smiled faintly and said, "You brought me back. I'm only staying." There's a mirror in the upstairs hallway. One of those old antique things she picked out during a trip to Vermont, back when we still talked in complete sentences. I used to avoid it. Never liked the way it made the hallway look longer than it was. Now I can't seem to stop staring at it. Every time I walk by, I catch movement out of the corner of my eye. A flicker of her hair. The hem of that white nightgown she never wore outside the bedroom. Her hand, resting on my shoulder, though no one's there when I turn. Yesterday, I stood in front of it and tried something. I said, "Michelle, show me where you are." The mirror fogged up. Just like that. From inside the glass. And written in the condensation, 5 letters. Here. I started keeping a journal, just to prove to myself I hadn't gone completely insane. The first few entries were angry. Then confused. Now, they're written like apologies. This morning, I found a page I didn't remember writing. It wasn't my handwriting. It just said, "You built this house of revenge. You don't get to leave it." Then at the bottom, in smaller letters, "Come upstairs." I went. What else could I do? The fog had already reached the stairwell, creeping through the baseboards like it owned the place. Upstairs, every door was open but one. Ours. It was shut tight, though I hadn't closed it. There was music playing softly from behind it. Something scratchy, old, an old country love song she used to play when she wanted to remember when we were poor and happy. I opened the door. The bed was made. She was sitting on it, legs folded beneath her like a ghost bride. "Are you ready?" she asked. "For what?" "For what comes next." That night, I dreamed of Monterey. Not just her hotel room. Not just Tyler. But me, outside the window, watching the whole thing. It wasn't just betrayal. It was surgery. She'd cut me out of her life like a tumor, and I was the one who bled. In the dream, I wasn't angry. I was smiling. Because I already knew what I'd do to her. I already had. And as I watched them from the window, Michelle turned her head, right through the glass, and looked straight at me. "You came early," she said in the dream. "You weren't supposed to see this yet." Then I woke up, drenched in sweat, the taste of salt and ash in my mouth. She was standing at the door again. But this time, the fog wasn't outside anymore. It was crawling down the walls. The fog has a face now. Sometimes it's hers. Sometimes it's mine. It moves through the house like an extra inhabitant. Breathing under floorboards. Whispering between ceiling beams. It tells me things. Mostly truths I never wanted to hear. That I loved her even after what she did. That my revenge wasn't righteous, it was jealous. That I took joy in watching her break, slowly, day by day. That I used the fog as a tool, but now I'm the tool it uses. And the worst part? I believe it. Today, I looked at the photo on the mantel. The one of our wedding day, when the world still felt simple. I noticed something new. My face, blurred, like fog, was already creeping in behind me even then. Michelle's eyes? Looking straight at me. Not smiling. Just waiting. Like she knew how it would end all along. Now, every mirror in the house is fogged over permanently. The ring she once threw at me? It's back on my finger. And no matter how many times I take it off, I wake up wearing it again. She's not gone. She's never going to be gone. Because in trying to destroy her, I destroyed the part of me that could ever let go. And now we're trapped here. Together. Inside the house I built. Inside the fog I welcomed. Inside a revenge that never really ends. There are no more days now. Just the same day, folding over itself like wet cloth. I don't remember the last time I saw the sun. The fog pressed in until it filled every room, every breath, every thought. There's no outside anymore. Just white and quiet. Sometimes I think I hear birds, but when I look, there's nothing. Michelle doesn't knock anymore. She doesn't have to. She lives here now. Not in the way she used to, with cluttered drawers and tea mugs and hair in the drain, but in the very bones of this place. I feel her when I walk barefoot across the floorboards. I smell her perfume every time I open a door. She hums to herself in the next room. Sometimes I ask her questions, and she answers. Sometimes I ask her to leave, and she just laughs. This morning, if you can even call it that, I found my old cell phone in a drawer. I hadn't seen it in months. It should have been dead. Instead, it was blinking. One missed call. Michelle. The date was from the day she left for Monterey. I played the voicemail. There was only static. And then her voice, soft and slow, like she was speaking through the fog itself. You think revenge is clean. It isn't. It's a house with no doors. It's a loop you chose to live inside. And I'll be waiting in every corner, every hallway, every dream. Because you didn't just punish me. You punished us. And now there's no way out. I dropped the phone. And it rang again. I tried to leave the house. Really leave it. I packed a bag, put on my boots, opened the front door, and stepped out into nothing. Not even fog. Just a vast, weightless white. No sound. No wind. No up or down. I walked forward. And the moment I blinked, I was back in the kitchen. Barefoot. The kettle was boiling. Michelle was stirring honey into her tea. She looked up and said, "Did you forget something?" Now I understand. This isn't a house anymore. It's a sentence. This is where the fog brings people like me. People who mistake control for justice. People who think heartbreak gives them a license to rewrite someone else's ending. I wanted to break her. I wanted her to feel every ounce of shame, betrayal, and humiliation I felt. And she did. She lost everything. But so did I. I found her journal in the attic. Not the physical one, something else. Something written in the air, etched into the beams like the fog itself recorded it. There were pages about Tyler. How she had loved him once, a long time ago. How she thought seeing him in Monterey might help her figure out who she really was. She hadn't planned to sleep with him. She regretted it the moment it happened. But what she regretted most, what she wrote over and over, was coming home. Not because she was ashamed. But because she saw in my eyes that I already knew. And that I wanted her to pay. You see, the revenge didn't start with the money. It didn't start with the trap I set. It started when I looked at her after she returned and saw an opportunity, not to fix it, not to forgive, but to make her bleed. And the fog saw that. It fed on it. It made this house into a mirror, and it made me look. And it never let me stop. Michelle is more real than I am now. She walks the halls with bare feet, her voice echoing even when she isn't talking. I feel her in my thoughts, like she's editing the story as I write it. And I think she's forgiven me. But it doesn't matter. Forgiveness doesn't open doors here. There are no exits for people like me. Only echoes. Last night, I stood in front of the mirror again. The one in the upstairs hallway. Only now, it shows the truth. Not me as I am. But me as I was, the moment before I made the choice to destroy her. Before I rewired her accounts. Before I emptied her savings. Before I called her boss with recordings I'd faked. Before I set her up so thoroughly she couldn't even prove she wasn't the one cheating again. That version of me in the mirror? He blinks. He turns away. He walks down the hall and disappears. I reach out to touch the glass. It's cold. But beneath it, the fog stirs. And for the first time, I see it clearly. The fog isn't here to punish. It's here to hold the story. All of it. Until I'm ready to accept the ending. So here I am. In the house. With Michelle. With the fog. With the truth. And if you're reading this, somehow, if this journal has slipped through the cracks of reality and found its way out, let me leave you with this. Don't chase revenge. It's not fire. It's not sharp. It's not justice. It's fog. And once it finds a way in, it never leaves. Just like Michelle. Just like me. Just like this house that was never truly empty. Not since I filled it with my hate.